All right, the recording is on. Just make sure everyone understands that this is a recorded meeting and we will begin. Yes, sir.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock today, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and the Goethe School Pledge. Please stand.
I'm going to share screen.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And for the Goethe Pledge.
As a citizen of the world, I will follow Goethe's circle of learning. Curiosity opens my mind, ideas lead to knowledge, responsible choices show respect, cooperation strengthens others, learners are courageous, empathy creates community.
Als ein Bürger dieser Welt folge ich dem Kreis des Lernens. Neugierig, ideenreich, respektvoll, kooperativ, mutig, empathisch.
All right, thank you. I would like to start with roll call. Frank?
Present. Thank you.
Danielle?
Here.
Pete?
Here.
Is here. Beacon?
Here.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2, approval of agenda as presented. I would like to make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Beacon seconded. All in favor? Frank?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Beacon?
Yes.
And that is an aye for me as well. And at this point, we will open to public comment. Casey, do we have any speakers today?
I don't know how to raise my hand on my phone, so.
Go ahead.
Okay. Do I have, sorry.
Yeah, just go ahead and give your name and you're on.
Okay, Kathy Cheatham. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to say to the board, thank you so much for what you guys did last meeting and recognizing that some teachers are going above and beyond and that you gave us compensation for going above and beyond. That was really appreciated. And on behalf of several teachers, I would like to say thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other speakers, Casey?
Actually, Chris is still the host of this meeting, so he would know, but I don't believe so because we only have the one public member at this time.
And I'll stay host because I started the recording, so we don't want to mess that up.
Okay. So are any other speakers, Chris, or can we move forward?
Nope, not that I can see.
Excellent. Then this concludes public comment. Let us move to consent. Approval of the regular board meeting minutes for September 24th. I would like to make a motion. All in favor? Frank?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
And that is an aye for me. Meeting minutes have been approved. Moving on to the ED report. Chris?
Okay, I'll go ahead and pull that up from a PowerPoint. Okay. First thing we always like to do, and my ED report this time is purposefully pretty brief because I know we have items in closed session that we will need to get to. I'd like to remind us that our enrollment projections were based on 420 students in the budget. Our enrollment as of last Friday was 421 students. And I just want to note that we've had both lost and gained Not huge numbers, but a few. We actually dropped to 419. We're at 421. I believe we may have lost a student today, so it's just kind of back and forth. But we seem to have kind of settled in on the part that we're at. And to give you the grade by grade numbers are here in the same format that we've been giving. So you can kind of take a look at that and get a sense grade by grade. Wanted to give a quick outreach update. These are different times, that's for sure, when it comes to outreach. And we were invited and spoke, both myself, but our main speaker was Mr. Michelson. And at a middle school virtual panel, this is a panel that is put on by the county library system. And we had attended it a year before in person, and we went and visited virtually. It was great. We had a chance to kind of give our 7-minute spiel, and we did so. Thanks, Scott, for your work in preparation, getting that together. I think it was well received. There were, I think, over 50 people on the call, so it was not a small group. But this is particularly important at this point in time because our outreach opportunities are very limited. The second bullet under elementary showcases, I have to put TBD because at this point, the ones we know about have either been canceled or they just say we're trying to figure it out, but they have not. The typical, there's usually about 4 that we go to, and none of them at the elementary level are pushing forward. So that's a little concerning about some of the personalized outreach that we typically do. But we've got some good news. If you'll, I know it's a public meeting, but I'm going to say it anyways. We are the best of the West Side for 2020 for the Argonaut. We earned this distinction last year. Several years ago, we earned it as well. I think one time we came in second place, so we've always been in the running. But we once again were named as best of the West Side. And so that's one more piece for our outreach that is helpful, especially in this area, and people do look for that and follow the distinctions that the local paper does put out. Another real good piece of good news for us is that our niche score improved to an A+, and this is not this is something that is they have a distinct way of calculating using all kinds of measures. You can check on their website how they come up with that, but we bumped up to an A+, and that is going to have a real positive effect when you do Google searches for best charter schools in LA or IB schools in LA or any of those kind of things. Our profile is going to be naturally higher on that. So that's really good news. And this ties into something we are going to be working on. I'd like to thank Danielle, who took some time out of her busy day to meet with Nazmia and myself, and we did kind of a beginnings of a plan that we're going to be presenting next month to the board, and with regard to social media outreach and what we intend to do in terms of a suggestion for where we strategically spend some money related to upping our profile on that. And so there'll be more to come next month, and I'm sure we'll have much to talk about at that time, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up on that. So again, thanks, Danielle, for your help with that. The final piece that I wanted to give as an update today is just on communications. I've mentioned before that we had, or I think it was last month, we talked about that we had just rolled out our Fresh Schools program, which is designed as an in-house system for communication. And So we've continued that that use. So the launch has happened, and we've received some positive results. When we had our parent advisory committee last week, we were talking about it and heard some positive comments from parents on that. It is helping us with coordination of our room parents. So for room parent communication. It's a system that we're utilizing for that purpose. Over 7,500 emails have been sent out within the system so far, and that's going to be an important metric of whether or not people are using this or not. And so some of those are emails that have come out from administration, but most of them have been internal. And so that's a good indicator that there is some good early use, and we'll continue to monitor that as we go forward. Any questions on any of the items that are on the ED report today?
Can I ask a question about Fresh Schools?
Sure.
You mentioned that it's being widely used for emails to the, from admin to the community. When people see those, do they have a distinction of like what is coming from Fresh Schools or not? And I only ask because sometimes I'll get a Goethe email twice in like my Gmail, and I'm like, oh, one of them must be the Fresh Schools one. I don't know.
It would be. There is a difference. So pretty much the two ways we send things out right now are through GICS communication, which is done through MailChimp, and those are the ones you've traditionally seen, and they have a particular look. We do our Thursday newsletter out through those. We also do our Tuesday briefing out through those, and so most of things right now are coming through MailChimp still. We didn't want to completely shift. We're doing it little by little in stages. So the things that we're really focusing on for Fresh Schools are coming through either it'll be some, it actually says, it has a Goethe logo up at the top, and it doesn't say Fresh Schools. It says Goethe International Charter School, but it has a different look. So if you've ever seen those, and it allows you to reply to the sender. So I've actually been the one sending out certain things where we're doing a quick update on something. We've used Fresh Schools. It's a very quick way to grab a group of people. It might be a particular grade level. So when we've sent out things for, we're doing the grade level, I was going to say potlucks, but they're happy hours. I sent that invitation out through Fresh Schools. And so it came from, it looks like it's coming from me personally, has my name on it, and it's coming out that way. So that would be an example of one that was recently sent through Fresh Schools.
Cool. Thank you.
Frank, do you have any questions?
I have no question. Thank you. It took me a while to get off mute.
Right. Danielle spoke. Pete?
No questions, thanks.
Deacon?
None for me, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chris. We will now move on to the Finance Committee report and approval of financials for August 2020. I would like to make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I say, okay, you second.
That was a second by Frank, I think. All right, go for it.
So your floor, Dr. Jones. We have discussed the financials. I'm sorry. During the last Finance Committee meetings, we incorporated a change which was necessary due to additional funding, but you will see at the report that it is a credit and a debit. So the results should be the same.
Okay. Let me go ahead and show that report, and I'm going to go ahead and let Ryan, who's been waiting patiently. We moved pretty quickly for you today, Ryan. That wasn't too bad.
Yeah, you guys did.
I'm going to go ahead and open up the financials. Okay. Can you see those?
I can.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
All right, so these are the financials for August. And if you can kind of walk us through those real quick.
Sure. I just, as I begin, I wanted to remind the board that this is a unique year in that we are not being impacted by our monthly attendance as far as funding goes. As it stands right now, we are being funded off of last year's enrollment information. Nevertheless, I still put the graph together and put the information for us to see. And we ended month one with 419 students and with an ADA percentage of 98.3%, which I thought was pretty amazing during distance learning. So again, these numbers don't impact our funding, but they are there just for your information. Moving along on the income statement, there really has been no variances to what the board approved as a revised budget, other than what Frank described, us adding in the learning loss mitigation funds that the school was awarded. And you can see, well, I put in the key points, sort of the hierarchy of these funds and when they need to be spent by. So we have $148,000 of new money that wasn't in this budget that needs to be spent by December 30th, which is just around the corner. And I have this here for us, and I think Dr. Jones is going to present a bit of a spending plan later tonight.
Yep.
But those are new dollars that need to be spent prior to December 30th, 2020. And the dollars are in here. They are being captured in total revenue. And in lieu of a formal plan at the moment, we put a placeholder in student supplies to offset that revenue. Other than that, there is no variances from the last presentation. We are anticipating net income of $149,000, 19,000 better than the board approved budget. And the main reason for that was there was some furlough days for the admin staff that occurred, and that was savings from what the board approved in the revised budget.
Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Any questions, Danielle?
Yeah, you mentioned the $138,000 that we have to spend before year end. Can you
No, not before year end. That's before, oh yeah, calendar year end, correct.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Regular people year end.
Yeah.
What can you be more specific about why it needs to be spent? Like, what's the specific fiscal reason?
That's the expiration date for the fund for the funding.
Oh, okay.
There's advocacy groups that have been fighting that, saying that it's not a reasonable deadline. But as it stands, that December 30th, 2020 is still the date that we have to work with.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I will be presenting a plan that involves technology and ties in with our distance learning and hybrid plans that we'll be able to. We don't want to leave something on the table.
Yeah, I saw that in the agenda. Thank you.
Dr. Jones, would you mind scrolling back up, please?
Sure.
I just wanted to point one other thing out to the board with these funds. If you go to the key points. So we do have, I did put the hierarchy as to when these funds need to be spent. I think it's important for the board to know that all of these funds have been received. Our main objective at the moment is to spend them in the order that you see here, because you know, the first bullet point that has to be spent by December. The second bullet point has to be spent by fiscal year end. And the third bullet point, if you don't spend it this fiscal year, you have until September 30th, 2022. But I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that timeline. We have been trying to find expenses based on the timeline here.
Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Pete?
No, I'm going to wait till Chris presents the spending plan because it's more related to that.
Thank you. Deacon?
Nothing, thank you.
Very well then, all in favor to approve the financials?
Actually, we do need to look at the check register and just have that be on the as part of it too.
While you're reviewing, I just again, I'll make this cautionary comment each and every time. While you're reviewing the check register, the budget is only balanced because of fundraising. So we have $420,000 in fundraising in our budget. So while it looks like that we are generating a surplus of in early stages here now of $150,000 this year, based on the projected expenses, we still need to make our fundraising budget in order to get to that point. So just a comment of caution. And that concludes my comment of caution.
All right, I imagine all the board members have reviewed the check register and we can move forward with the vote. All in favor? Frank?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
There's an aye for me as well. Moving on to the second item, consideration of appointing a second board member to the Finance Committee. I think who's the person leading the discussion, Chris and Frank?
Yeah, Chris and Frank, and Chris is showing the actual I think Chris, what's the plan? Sharing the actual charter.
We just on the charter, there's a portion that talks about membership. But Frank, if you just want to talk about what was the reasoning behind wanting to, the committee shall consist of 2 trustees. We only have 1 trustee currently. So you want to talk to that?
Yeah. So so based on the charter and the membership, we need to get a second trustee on it. If that isn't the case, then the question is, can we use that trustee spot if the trustees don't want to participate on the finance committee? Can we use that second trustee spot to onboard an additional parent or a legal guardian? Did I represent that correctly, Dr. Jones?
Yeah, and it just says may appoint alternate members at its discretion. So this would be an alternate member if the board chose to move forward. And I think the only thing to add is one of the reasons that we were considering it as a group is we currently have 4 folks on the committee, and it's never best to have an even number. It's good to have an odd number in case of a breaking of a tie vote. So that was kind of one of the considerations, and the other was just to bring another voice and bring somebody else along with the process of finance.
So let me start. So I'll direct this to Chris, you Chris and Frank, specifically Frank, since you're the chair. So Chris's point about, so I've heard a few things. One is the charter says there should be an additional board member because it says it, but I think we've sort of established that, just because the charter says something, it doesn't have to be necessarily fulfilled. So the first question is really directed toward an alternate board, having an additional board member. Now, when we passed this charter, I think it was 2.5 years ago, something like that, Frank. At the time, I believe the president and the treasurer were both on the finance committee, right?
That is correct.
And historically, correct me if I'm wrong, historically, the president has always been on the finance committee?
I think it was yeah, the answer is correct.
So I think to point out in this charter, what I'm trying to get to is that part of this is probably just how things were done, not necessarily best practice. I don't know what value an additional board member would have on the committee. So that takes me to Chris's point about, well, let's just get another person on here because there's 4, so it's an uneven number. So on that point, let me ask, how many votes have you had where they were tied?
Not a lot, because we just issue recommendation, right? We don't,
No, but you agree on the recommendation, right? Like,
Yeah,
and how many?
It's not a make or break. We're bringing to the board for final decision. We'll follow the Brown Act. It's so far we have had mostly unanimous decisions on the last 1.5 years.
Yeah.
There were sometimes some recusals, for potential conflict of interest, right? But that was the only situation where we didn't vote unanimously after discussion.
Okay. So then my other
In general.
point is, okay, and then about opening it up as an alternate member, I guess, what are we missing in the finance committee right now that we would like to offer it to another stakeholder?
I think right now we have 2 administration we have representation from administration, executive director, and operations manager, right? And we have a parent representation, Joe Franco, right? And we have me as a head of the treasurer, as a board representative. I think it would be good, if we can get another stakeholder group on there, where they can, whether it's parents or teachers or somebody who can just, voice the opinion. I think it's good. I'm not sure we can, we can do this, for example, with the teacher representation, but I think it's good practice. Let's just get people on board early on in the decision-making process. It's good democratic process. It has all the signs of good governance for me. That would be my general train of thought about it.
No, I agree. I feel like the stakeholder group that's not represented in the committee are the teachers. And as you know, that's a little tenuous because of the conflict of interest. However, I do believe that I've seen several charter schools where teachers do participate in finance committees, just like the administration has an innate conflict of interest in putting down their salary and their projections. Like it's virtually the same situation for the teachers. So thank you. I think you've raised a very valid point. I think we are missing a stakeholder group in that committee, which is the teachers, which I think would add value to the committee. I mean, I'm not in it, but if you're saying that, I totally trust you.
It's a very civilized. It's a very civilized committee, very civilized discussion about really items, what's best for the school.
Of course.
In a nutshell.
And you're the chair, so I expect it to be nothing but civilized.
Yeah.
Now, just on going back to your original comment about having an alternate board member, something did occur to me. I think one of the historical conclusions that used to keep coming out was, oh, we need 2 board members in case one is absent or something like that. For me to consider this fully, is that an issue? Like, you're going to all the meetings, right? Like you're not.
When I'm not at the meeting, Dr. Jones is taking the chair of the meeting. I've been working. I think I was late at one meeting where I couldn't make it on time, and Dr. Jones opened the meeting. He had quorum, and I think it was okay. I have no reservation, Dr. Jones, just being the chair in my absence.
Then I think, okay, then you've answered all my questions. My recommendation would then be to say yes to this. And then at the next board meeting, we revise the charter. Chris, you bring us a new member composition charter, where we say the fifth person is teacher. But I would vote yes on the consideration, and then revise the charter at a follow-up meeting. Frank, does that sound okay?
That sounds perfect.
All right.
S-
Frank, do you have anything else to add?
No, thank you.
All right. Danielle?
Nothing for me.
Pete?
So it doesn't seem like we need to change the charter to include a teacher on here, right? Because it's open.
It says alternate.
Right. So I don't think because I have no problem with having a teacher on there either. That's perfectly fine. But what I wouldn't want to do is to have this year we say, okay, we're going to put a teacher on, and a teacher says great, and then next year no teacher wants to do it, and now we have to look for a different type of stakeholder to put on there, and now we're going to change the charter again to include that particular position. I think since it falls within the possibilities of what the charter says, this time we agree to select a teacher. Next year we may want somebody else. So I don't think I would go through and change the charter specifically.
May I ask you, you know what, I will wait, I'll give all the board members a chance to ask. Beacon?
Nothing for me, thank you.
So Pete, this question is for you. Going back to Frank's comment about adding a stakeholder group, right? And Frank, I don't want to speak for you, but what the message I received was, we're missing a stakeholder group here. You know, I think this is the group we should add to it. So my gut feeling on it is that he's right. I think the teachers are a crucial part that needs to be part of this committee, and that we shouldn't go around changing charters at all. But I think we should also be very, you know, we go through it with due diligence, and give them a place at the table going forward, you know, in perpetuity, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. I mean, furthermore, if you are concerned about changing the charter, one of the things we can always do, I don't want to get into too much like, you know, governance management, but we can write something into the charter to say that, you know, it takes 2/3 of the board's approval to change this committee charter. You know what I mean? Just to put something in where it doesn't change. Does that make sense? I'm just throwing out options there. What are your thoughts?
I mean, again, it's not that changing the charter this one time is that big a deal. I just don't want to go through and change a charter every year when there's something different for the alternate member. And it may, you know, so teachers are a fine group. There's no reason that a teacher shouldn't be on the group. The teachers can certainly add value, but it may be that having a teacher on there isn't as productive as we thought. And then we're committing ourselves to something that we may or may not want to pursue in the future. And it's removing something is much more contentious than keeping something the way it is and simply appointing the alternate member who happens to be a teacher. That's just, I just don't want to back us into a corner that then later looks poorly on our decision making. Not just the decision making, but the actual process, and spending more time on it than we need to, when we can clearly do what we need to do without having to change anything.
Agreed. And you know, when I first saw this on the agenda, my first concern was, why on earth would you want more people in a committee when you should have less to be productive? But I would also say, so I'm in agreement. I also believe it is important to include that stakeholder group. So we do have committee evaluations that we will be performing this year on all our board level committees. And I think in one of those places, we evaluate how productive each stakeholder group is. And we'll base that, and we'll decide next year if we want to alter the charter for the finance committee. But I'm okay with that. So I guess what we're voting on today is a yes on the consideration, and then Chris at the next board meeting brings forth some candidate teachers.
Yeah.
Board members.
Yes, I think we can definitely do that, and that would be assuming there's teachers interested, but we would put it out there and let you know.
Okay, do we need to discuss any further, or
No.
thumbs up from board members? We're good. All right. So
Excuse me.
Do we record the vote at that point?
Two things. Can I ask for the minutes? So the motion or the point on the agenda was consideration of appointing second board member to finance committee or alternate member. So you decided that it's an alternate member, but you also said from the teacher group, is that being added to the motion that it's supposed to be from the teacher group, or can it be any alternate member?
I would like to amend the motion to include teachers as the alternate group in consideration.
Okay, and
I
then
second that.
you would need to vote on the
Yes.
motion still.
Yeah, we need to get it on record. That was my other question. Thank you.
All right, all in favor? Frank?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Beacon?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Amended motion passes. We are now moving on to the next item, learning loss mitigation funds update.
Okay. As we discussed at the during the finance committee report, three different types of funding that have come in as that are called learning loss mitigation funds, and they have to be spent with very specific things related to COVID-19 response. And you know, so it can be protective equipment. It could be anything that helps with distance learning. It could be anything that helps with hybrid learning, barriers that separate and provide safety, masks, and you know, all that type of equipment. So this the first wave of funding, initially there was thought that there were going to be some shifts in when these were going to have to be spent by, and that happened in some of them but not in others. And so unfortunately the coronavirus relief fund, which is the one that we get the most from, is 148,000 of this amount of money. And we have already spent a total of 15,790 on that. So we're at a point where we're trying to spend down 132,509 in that funding, and we've already spent for Chromebooks and carts a total of 35,000 plus that has already been purchased. And so what we are recommending, and I want to be clear about this, there's two recommendations that are there. One, the finance committee talked about, and one we kind of determined after the fact with admin. So the finance committee discussed the need for funding for teacher computers, which in some cases, the best case scenario, there may be a 2-year-old computer. I think that we might have gotten one new one this last year. But most of them are 4, 5, 6, and some even 7 years old, which is far past the useful lifetime of a laptop computer. Why this is an issue is we have not faced a crisis in this yet, but if a teacher's laptop goes down, learning is over for the day. And so that's, you know, we're really trying to prevent a problem with regard to distance learning by looking out for the teachers and their laptops. And so this would be teachers and administration, and the purchase of laptops to keep our whole system running, both in distance learning format, but also in a hybrid format. And certainly if we get back to campus at some point with everybody here, we're still going to be making use of these items. So, but they really are key when we're talking about distance or in a hybrid format. The second area we're looking at would be an expense, and this was the part that we didn't talk about in the finance committee, but I'm still presenting it to the board as a recommendation from administration, is to purchase sets of Chromebooks to fill out our classroom needs. Because if, as you know, we currently have Chromebooks that are out with families. If we are in a hybrid situation, we're going to come back to school in which we'll need computers at school, and we're going to need computers out with students, because the students will still be doing work in a distance format even during the hybrid time. So we felt it made sense to go ahead and spend $55,000 to purchase the additional Chromebooks. It would be we think we can get 6 class sets of that. And then when things settle down and we're completely back on campus, we will do a redistribution of everything. We have a number of things that are on campus. The ThinkPads that were a laptop that are on their last legs and ready to be recycled out. And so that will be our first group that comes out. So these are our two recommendations, and they are actually up on the agenda coming up. But I wanted to talk about them now and together, and as it relates to these learning loss mitigation funds that we would be able to then offset, because this is new funding, so it's not something that we'd need to revise the budget for. New funding coming in and new spending going out. So with that, I would open to questions, and also anything from Ryan, if you wanted to add, if there's anything I've missed. Ryan, do you want to chime in?
The only thing that I would add, we did discuss it, was, we need to, if we did move forward with the Chromebooks or any technology purchases, there's a shortage across the state.
Oh, right.
And, it's very important that purchases be made sooner rather than later, because everything that, I've heard is that, laptops, Chromebooks, they're all on a 30 to 60 day back order. So it is pretty crucial that that if you did move forward with that orders are made. That's the only thing that I would add.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because we definitely discussed that at the finance committee.
Thank you, Chris. So just so I'm clear, you presented the 2 motions in this preamble.
So I'm sorry, we're on number, I'm looking at the budget. I was just on number 3, learning loss mitigation funds. So if there are any questions about that, or do you want to take them one by one? And number 4 and number 5 are the 2 motion or 2 items.
I'm okay to discuss now and then vote on both motions immediately, if that's all right with the board members. Yes?
That is all right with me.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. So Frank, do you have anything else to add?
I think this is the opportunity. I'm not a big fan of bring your own equipment, bring your own device to work. I think it's absolutely necessary that our teachers and staff work on school property, right? And that there should be a separation between their private property and their private email and the school property. So as it regards to item number 4, staff replacement necessary 40,000, 100%. And of course, in regards to item number 5 on the agenda, I generally follow the recommendation of the administration when it comes to necessity in the classroom.
Danielle?
I just have one question for clarity. Is the recommendation to do both of these things, right? So to purchase $40,000 worth of Chromebooks for students and then the others for, for teachers and then the other in the class Chromebooks. Is that right?
Yes, and
Okay.
that will essentially wipe out, it's
95,000 of it.
very close to finishing out, and we would be able to not leave anything on the table with the coronavirus relief fund, which is the one that is due by December 31st.
Great. That's all I had. That was the only question.
Pete?
Yeah, so I have a couple questions on, so I think getting additional technology is reasonable, but I think just buying computers for the sake of buying computers because you have the money is not necessarily the optimal way. And the reason I say that there's potentially other things to consider is Frank's comment earlier that our budget is balanced because of presumed fundraising, which one can never count on. And so I guess I'd like to see some potential for spending down some of these funds, especially the December funds, and other means that replace some of the normal expenditures we would have. I know other charter schools are doing exactly that by taking some staff salaries and putting it onto these relief mitigation funds, because those staff salaries have to do with providing extra support or whatever it might be. Also, if it turns out that we go into a hybrid mode, especially where students' disabilities or students' disability and EL students come in, then there's going to be some additional some things that need to be worked out, which might require additional staff, which is a direct response to COVID-19. And so I think those salaries can, now that'll be trickier because that may not happen for a while. So that's something to think about. But the point is that rather than spending it on new things, I think rather than just a wholesale swap, because yes, some of these computers are 2 years old and some are 6 years old, it seems that for staff, for example, you buy a set of them, and as they need to be replaced, you can replace them. But replacing them just to replace them just seems like not the best use of money when I haven't heard any fully exploration of replacing some costs that we already have. So that would be, that's what I'd be interested in.
So if I can reply to that, Pete,
Mm-hmm.
The funds that we've already expended, which was 15,000, was amounts for PPE, mostly kind of equipment, and we've looked at what can we realistically fund in the amount of time that we have left. I agree with you. There's a part of me that just recoils at the idea of just, oh, we have to spend money, so we're going to spend money. But I do think that these are purchases that relate very directly to a need organizationally and a need specific to both distance learning and a hybrid situation. The one thing that we talked about in the meeting, which I think is sort of looming in the back of my mind that worries me on this issue, is the cost that is potentially there for testing. Not so much testing of staff, but testing of students, which is a uniquely LAUSD requirement, not a requirement from the state and not a requirement from the county, and not a requirement in all the other districts in the county, but it is a requirement in LA Unified. And so we are going to have to come up with a system that is commensurate with what LA Unified has, or use the LA Unified system. And there's going to be significant cost either way on that. If I felt we were going to be moving in that direction, in the amount of time that we have for this funding, I would push forward for that and pull back on some of this and be a little less. But as I've looked at it, I don't see a way for us to not leave money on the table by December. I don't see that any like personal salaries or funding can be swapped out through this funding. Nothing really comes to mind that we've added particular position or anything where duties have changed dramatically in order to justify something like that. I think it's a great idea, but I think that's I don't see a way to make that happen with the timeline. I was hoping back in August when I had heard about this is that they were going to, with SB 820, change the date on this. But unfortunately, they didn't. So I guess I'm just saying, I think this is our best bet moving forward. But I certainly think those are reasonable comments and concerns.
So I'm just trying to turn over all the stones before we commit to something.
Sure.
So didn't we just, was it the last meeting or the one before where we added back an IA? It doesn't, to me, that seems quite plausible that the additional IA is necessary because of distance learning to provide support for the teachers because of the new teaching that's going on. So I think a case could be made that that salary, at least through December, could be covered by these funds.
Dr. Jones, I just wanted to take a moment to agree with Pete. I like where his mind is going, but I did want to point out there are a couple of caveats with these funds. So the expenses, they have to be items that you had not budgeted for in the past prior to distance learning. Now, the addition of an instructional aid, that could count. That could count. However, you guys always had instructional aids. So that instructional aids position, his or her job description has to be substantially different as a result of the pandemic. So that would require a separate type of job description, but you can absolutely use personnel if you want to add them in. Or what I've seen is stipends for staff that is doing something above and beyond their regular workday, where they are helping families troubleshoot tech questions from home. But yeah, those are all good ideas, Pete. It's just one thing that they did point out is that it has to be something that has not been budgeted for in the past, and it has to be substantially different. And I think substantially different can probably be debated on, but that's the only guidance we have at this point.
Right. I'm just going from what I know some other charter schools are doing, and
yeah,
they
there
have
was
to
actually a workshop just fresh off the press, Pete, that occurred.
Oh, really?
Just at the end of last week, I think it was on Thursday, they came out with this guidance. So that might have been that did change a few schools' plans. But that it was hot off the press, and it's really frustrating because during this short window, all of those disclaimers are more beneficial sooner rather than later, and it's already mid-October, and we don't have much time. But those are that's the new information that came out last week.
Can I ask a question, or are we going to do another round? And then I can hold my question.
We can do another round.
Okay.
Pete, any other questions?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Deacon?
I'm completely in support of the teachers getting upgraded laptops and adding class sets, but I do agree with Pete. And if there's a creative way for us to come up with sort of a cushion and then a potential spend that would be last minute, if we don't need to use that cushion for whatever unforeseen event, then I'd like to explore that.
Frank, anything else?
So there's reprimanding going on in the back of the dog. So I just waited until it died down a little bit. I apologize. No, I'm an absolute 4 is a no-brainer for me. 5, I just follow the recommendation. If there are other ways of spending the money, then yes, but I generally follow the recommendation of the administration. So nothing changed, but 4 is a no-brainer for me. Proper equipment for our staff.
All right, Danielle.
Yeah, I was going to say the 4 and 5 feel like no-brainers, and that's just because there is an expiration date on a laptop. Just because it's working now and it's 7 years old, like most companies replace your laptops after 2 years to ensure that you're productive and that your laptop is functioning so you can actually do the work. But that would just be my feedback on that point. But the other thing is understanding too that there's a delay in being able to receive Chromebooks. I mean, computers across the country right now, they're back ordered. But I do like this idea of the IA, but my biggest concern about it is that in order to really optimize this, basically they need to create a job description, hire somebody, and onboard them in like a matter of days in order to like actually use this funding, because I don't know what an IA makes. I know it's not a lot, but I mean, we're probably talking about just like a few $1,000s to go towards that, right? That would be my assumption. So that's where I feel like there's a little bit of risk, because then you might ultimately leave that on the table if you're not able to hire that person, onboard them, train them, and then get them up and going. And also assuming that you're going to hire somebody who's going to be willing to commit to work for you for 2 months, and then that's it, and that's the end of there. I don't know that you're going to find that quality person. I recognize that would probably be a challenge, even though I understand that would probably also add value, but just trying to be realistic about the deadlines. I guess that was my question. Is it realistic that you could hire somebody or create a job description and do all of these things within that tight time frame, and also spend a significant amount of these funds?
I can reply to that one. It's realistic because we launched into it before. We hadn't identified a funding, but we are already on the in the process of interviewing. That's going on this week. So it's not like it's way down the line, but I do think it'll be a matter of thousands of, a few $1,000s, not 25,000 or something to that level, that would be able to be expended by December 31st. And Ryan, I don't think we'd be able to capture anything with this particular set of funds after for paying for people after December 31st. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Can I ask on that? So I assume accounting is accrual basis, right? So can't you write a contract?
Not in this case. I can try to see if I can send you the frequently asked questions.
No, I'm just asking you, and you tell me, no, you can't write a contract for services.
No, you can't.
I like your creative thinking.
No,
well,
I like it too.
I guess it needs to be said that.
So one of the caveats to that is the services have to be performed or delivered prior to December 30th.
So they have to be delivered. So that my next question was whether or not you can order computers on December 30th.
No, they're saying that like even ordering them late December, they're saying that that's not going to qualify. So we need to make a plan, decision.
Well, are they going to ask for a delivery receipt? Once you order and you pay.
They could.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That probably would qualify for delivery.
I think I think we're postulating too much. Let's just move forward on the motion. Okay, so I would like to make a motion on item number 4. Do I have a recommendation to buy staff laptops? Do I have a second?
Second. I thought you were going to combine them.
No.
Can't, so they're separate on the agenda.
Okay, got it.
We combine the discussion, not the motion.
Understood. I second.
All right, all in favor, Frank,
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Pete,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
and that is a yes for me as well. Next item, consideration to buy, sorry, just saw the word consideration and recommendation. Chris, I'd just like to add under the meeting notes next time, let's just change that language to approval. I'm not consideration, sounds like debate.
Yeah,
but,
I'm sorry. The only reason we changed that is that the recommendation came from the finance committee, and consideration was just this one just came from administration. It was not presented at the finance committee, so that's why I had different language on that.
All right, I'd like to amend the motion to say approval to buy 6 class sets of 30 Chromebooks for each, including computer cards, not to exceed 55,000. Do I have a second on my amendment?
A second.
Was Deacon? All right, then let's go through the vote. All in favor, Frank,
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Pete,
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes, thank you.
And that is a yes for me as well. Moving on to the last item under the Finance Committee, I would like to make a motion to approve the authorization application for funding for planned increase enrollment. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, that was Deacon. Go ahead, Frank or Chris.
It is Chris.
Yeah, in your board packet, there was a 18-page thing. Sorry about that. I highlighted the section that was relevant to this. But basically, SB 820, amongst other things, actually allows charter, or not just charter schools, any school that is growing in enrollment to apply. Now, this is not going to be some windfall for us, but it could be a few ADA. And any ADA to the positive is important. It means we're able to apply for anything that is greater than what was back on February 29th, which is the enrollment date we're stuck at. And so if we do gain more students, we would be able to do this. It will take a signature from the board president. And so we wanted to be sure the board was aware of this, and for the board to give him authorization to apply for this funding.
Thank you, Chris. Frank, do you have any questions?
No, we endorsed it as on the finance committee that you should.
Danielle?
No questions.
Pete?
Is this a two-way street?
No. It's a great question too. No, we would. That does not mean we drop.
Okay,
We wouldn't apply for it if we did.
No, but what I know you wouldn't apply for it, but let's say this month we're up to 421, and so you want to apply for it, and now you get the 421, but next month we drop to 415. Is funding then based on 415?
No, it's actually based off of enrollment as of October 7th.
Right. Okay. So it's
a fixed date.
Okay, so it's a fixed date and it stays that way. It doesn't. All right, that was the question. Thanks.
You're on fire tonight, Pete.
Well, I took my caffeine this morning.
Deacon?
Nothing for me, thank you.
All right, then let's go to the vote. All in favor, Frank?
Aye.
Yeah.
Danielle?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
As a yes for me as well. Moving on to the next item, which is the Board Development Committee report. Chris, since you are the ombudsman, would you like to walk us through it?
I am at the moment the ombudsman for the Board Development Committee, which currently consists of 3 people. So that includes Beacon, and it includes Yasir, and it includes myself. And one of the first things we wanted to do was to expand that committee. We did open it up to our parent stakeholders to participate as a parent representatives. We put it out in our GICS newsletter newsletter distribution. It was a individual item, and we received one application on the timeline that we had. We did receive one that was later also. We had a chance to speak with our applicant, who was Ms. Zlatka Stone, a parent of a kindergarten student, and expressed interest and expressed her background, particularly working with policy and making sure compliance is occurring in her work. And she had a distinguished resume that we reviewed, and a recommendation for approval was made by the board committee. And so I would, anything else to add from Beacon or Yasir with regard to update from the committee?
Chris, I think another thing to mention is that we've formed 3 tentative goals for the committee for this year.
We reported those out last time.
If you can just restate those, Chris, one more time.
I have to look them up. Hold on.
I know one was board composition and recruitment. One was education. And then was the third one? I forget.
The third one was protocols.
Protocols and procedures for board engagement.
Yes.
I would just like to point out again that that doesn't mean those, as far as we mentioned to the board, those are, something that the board development committee has already agreed on that we're going to move forward on. Zlatka can also bring something forward as far as another goal that the committee should have. But we, again, want to make sure that the board also feels very open to adding goals and responsibilities to the committee as well. So just wanted to give everyone that update. And yes, Zlatka seems very nice and engaged, and I think she'll be a great addition to the group. Deacon, do you have anything else?
Nothing to add. You guys did a great job.
Thank you, Beacon.
All right. Thank you, Chris. So that being said, I would like to make a motion to approve Zlatka Stone as a parent rep to the board development committee. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Or I'm sorry. Let's discuss. Frank.
I have no comment or discuss or question.
Okay. Danielle.
Nothing for me.
Pete.
Nothing for me, thanks.
All right. And Deacon.
Nothing.
All right. All in favor? Frank.
Aye.
Danielle.
Aye.
Pete.
Yes.
Deacon.
Yes.
And that is a yes for me as well. Moving on to the next item, which is approval of the board goals and activities calendar for this academic year. So Chris and I spent a little bit of time formulating our calendar based on our goals that the board tentatively agreed on a few weeks ago. Just so, again, this is a document that helps us plan out our year. Not to say that new things won't come up, because they always do, and they'll go in here. If things need to be moved up or down, let us know. But it is an organic and fluid document, so nothing is cast in stone. Just something to get on paper and onto to the back of our schedule to make sure that everything is where they should be. Most of the input was from Chris and the resources that he has to accomplish them. So I would like to make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
From Beacon. All right, Frank, any questions?
Am I the only one seconding?
We know you like it, so I
Yeah.
just said you go for it.
It's not fun without the competition.
No, I have reviewed the document and could state that's a very workable document, and thank you. I would be okay with it.
I don't have any questions or comments. Looks good.
Pete?
Nope.
Deacon?
Very nice.
All right, then all in favor, Frank,
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Pete,
Yes, sir.
Deacon,
Yes.
and that is a yes for me. Calendar is and goals are approved. Focus areas and deliverables for Chris. I would like to make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Where's Beacon?
No, that was Pete. Sorry, that was Pete. Like that, because thank you, Chris, for revising the document per Pete's comment. Questions or concerns, Frank?
Reads good. That's it.
All right, Danielle,
I'm fine with the revisions. No questions, comments.
Pete,
Yeah, looks good. I hope that didn't take too much extra time.
Nope, it was actually a good exercise, and I thank you for it.
Good.
Danielle.
Beacon, all good.
I'm sorry, Beacon. Yep, thank you. And that is a yes for me. Chris is Godspeed, Chris. Make us proud.
Just a few things.
All right. And the next item is an affirmation of.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
You got the vote through?
I got yes.
No,
We didn't
no,
vote.
no, we had comment. You just need to call the vote.
Got it.
I think you need to call the vote. I mean, I had no my comment was the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't call the vote. Thank you, Frank. All right.
Yep.
All in favor, Frank,
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Pete,
Yes.
Deacon.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Moving on, affirmation of completion of Brown Act training. This is the part where each board member needs to state the date they completed their Brown Act training. So I will begin. Chris, is that right? We just say the date?
Just so I can explain, we've typically in the past had a set meeting where somebody comes and does a presentation at one of our meetings with the onset of COVID and distance learning. We had some opportunities over the summer and a few different ones in the fall to be able to do Brown Act training online, and everyone was able to do that, but we were all at different times. So some have different dates. So we wanted to capture it in the minutes so that we could point to this meeting and say, this is when everybody said, yes, I did it on this date. Does that make sense?
Thank you. All right, so Chris, for the meeting minutes, the sessions that I joined were supplied by YMC on Tuesday, August 18th and Wednesday, August 18th. I'm sorry, Tuesday, August 18th and Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. Frank?
I attended the meeting on Wednesday, September 16th, 7 to 8:30 p.m.
That was YMC seminar. Is that right?
Yeah, YMC webinar, mycharterlaw.com. YMC.
Frank.
Go to meeting.
And Danielle?
I also attended the same as Frank, Wednesday, September 16th, 7 p.m., the YMC webinar.
All right. Pete?
I did YMC on September 15th at 10:30, it looks like.
All right. And Deacon?
I completed mine August 18th and 19th.
YMC as well.
And I'm going to ask each of the administrators as well. So I'll start. I did mine on the 15th, same as Pete's, September 15th, 10:30 in the morning. Biggie?
I did the same one with YMC, 9:15 at 10:30 in the morning.
And Casey?
Sorry, just finding my calendar to double check. I also did the same one on September 15th.
And
Right.
Scott?
I also did the same one on September 15th.
So clearly all the cool kids did it on September 15th.
I thought it was the Wednesday, evening session, but
All right. At this point, the trustees will convene to closed session. Chris, you take the lead.
Okay, well, we're gonna take
Are
a
we
couple of
not
minute
gonna-
break because we didn't do
Hold on
that
one
the last time. And so I'm
How
gonna,
many minutes was that? How many
Hold on,
well, right
hold on,
now
hold on.
it is 7.
Dr. Jones,
Yeah,
Dr. Jones,
yeah.
according to the agenda, calendar item number 6, topics of upcoming board meetings before we go in closed session. What is it, call of order? Is that the proper?
Okay, yep.
Oh, point of order.
Point of
You're
order.
right. Sorry.
Point of order.
Thank you. Sorry.
Missed it. Scroll down too much. All right. Calendars and topics for upcoming board meetings. Frank.
No topics.
Danielle.
I have no topics, but I love that Frank made a thing out of it and has no topics. That was my favorite part.
Oh.
Pete.
Nothing for me.
Beacon.
Nothing, thank you.
All right. At this point, we will convene to closed session. Is that okay, Frank?
Absolutely. We followed the agenda. Perfect.
Okay.
Are we doing a short break?
Yeah,
let's do a short break.
let's reopen at 7:25. I've just sent to Jason. I told him 7:30, so I'm sure he can get there 5 minutes early. So 7:25. If you want to turn off your camera for a sec, you can do that. And I'm going to be ending recording. And we will record out the closed session at the end of that. It may be fairly lengthy. We'll see. All right. And did you get the closed session, or I mean the end time, Biggie, for the meeting?
Yeah, 7:20, or it's not an actual end time, right? It's 7:20.
Yep.
And then a 5-minute break.
Yep. Okay. And I just let Jason in, so that's cool. Hi, Jason.
Hey guys.
Hey, we're still in open session, but just completed the meeting. We're taking a quick couple of minute break. So at 7:25, we're going to enter into closed session.
Chris, do you want to end the recording?